What's up today, my friends? Welcome to this installment of Carpo and his rambles. It's, what is it, the 10th? Or maybe the 11th of October 2016. And today is just like any other day, you know. You wake up, go about your daily activities, and you go to bed, and in the meantime, hopefully learn a few new things. And hopefully don't get too lost in the chaos of, you know, what life is said to be. And I mean that in the sense of often our consensus reality is a culmination of all the studies we've done, as well as a combination of all the things we've been taught and told. Our whole worldview and universe view is in our heads. I mean, most of us haven't been to all the places that we think of or that we know we understand. It would be easy to delude ourselves and just sit in one spot and say we don't know anything. At last, Descartes did exactly that. I think, therefore I am. But that's the only thing you can know for sure, is what that means, is that you're thinking, so therefore you exist. You know, I originally was gonna, I guess I didn't really make a video yesterday, which is kind of funny, because I usually make one each day. Maybe I did. Oh, I made one for the Herb channel. But I had a couple things I was going to talk about, and then last night the election was on, the debate, the second debate between Clinton and Trump, and I was going to make a video about that today, and I decided I wouldn't know what to say or where to start. It's not even worth the debate or argument with people who have made up their mind about how they feel. I personally despise both of the candidates, but at the same time, I have to be fair and remind myself that my preconceived notions about how people are, or the things that I've heard in the past, or the claims that have been made by the media or by anyone, you know, Twitter, Facebook, any of the things, I can't let any of this sway my opinion on these potential presidential candidates. The whole time I'm thinking Bernie should be there. Bernie should be there. You know, he should be there in Clinton's place, and that's just my personal take. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Bernie because they think he's a big socialist and he's going to take away everything they have, but most people don't realize that a nation has to function, and in order to function, we have to have access to basic services and needs for people. But what's happened with the chaos of healthcare has just completely screwed everything up. Obamacare is totally in need of an overhaul, but not an elimination, because the problem is that right now it's keeping the larger insurance companies from being able to basically set any price they want. So the argument is free market versus, you know, rules and regulations. I don't want to get off track into that, but as for the two candidates, you know, it was funny because last night it was the first time I'd heard about this, you know, Trump and his pussy grabbing comment, you know, when he basically says, you know, this was years ago, but I think it was in '05, but there's a recording of him saying, yeah, you know, when you're a celebrity, you can basically, you know, do whatever you want. I can even grab women's pussies if I want. I was just so appalled. I thought maybe it's being taken out of context. Then I heard the actual, you know, recording, and I was like, here we have a potential candidate as leader of what we used to call the free world. And this is the type of behavior that we expect. So anyway, back, and I'm not here to defend Clinton either. I want to make sure that that's clear. You know, she says last night that she's going to take the high ground. You know, she said, well, you know, I'm not going to bite. And then what did she do? The first damn comment she had, an opportunity to actually talk about the issues, and she goes on to talk about things Donald Trump has done. You know, Donald Trump has he could dig his own hole. We don't need Hillary Clinton to tell us about his faults. What we want out of both of these candidates is for them to fucking talk about the issues, okay? The issues at hand. Now, in the town hall debate, they are asked questions from the audience and from people on Facebook and elsewhere. And these questions are presented to them as, what are you going to do about this problem? How do you feel about global warming, about healthcare, about Muslims? And I listened very carefully to every single line of that debate. I mean, I was just focused in on both of them. And they both completely went off subject. I got to admit, Clinton did do a little better at answering the actual people's questions, but whenever she was finished with what she was going to say, she'd spend the second whole half of it just talking bad about Trump. and trying to defend herself and have her stupid smirk. And I feel like we're just trapped between these two complete fuckers. I don't know what other term to use, really. And it makes me, I feel like I have to talk about this stuff because I have to get it off my chest, I have an open mind when it comes to this election. If Trump could show me that he really had something, that he had plans to do these things, if he could speak about them. Now here's the thing, I'm talking about Trump's claiming that he's the one that can solve our problems. We know that's bullshit, but a lot of people believe it. He says he's going to fix this, he's going to do that. Last night he even said that under his, when he's president, Hillary Clinton will go to prison. This kind of stuff. So this makes people want to vote for him. But here's the thing, people should not have to go to a person's website to see their plans laid out for the future or what they think will be the right way. They should be able to, as candidates, answer in this hour or hour and a half, however long it is. They should be able to answer these questions in whole, in completion, as to what they plan to actually do. Like, what plan are you going to implement? Because, for example, if Clinton can't say the specifics of what her plan for, let's say, clean energy is, then that may be because, it's an entire group of people who are involved in, these plans. She doesn't know all the details of it, just like Trump wouldn't either. But the problem is that Trump doesn't have a cabinet. He doesn't have anybody who's giving him this information. He's doing everything himself, and he thinks that he's the captain of the world, that everyone loves him and he can do whatever he wants. And the attitude that he has, this dismissive attitude towards the average person, it's sickening. I feel like he just blows everyone off. He spent the whole night last night just talking shit. And that's pretty much what Clinton did. And I feel like it was a whole hour of 2 grade school children saying, he did it, she did it, he did it, she did it. Before the debate last night, Trump actually had a meeting with a bunch of the women which had accused Bill Clinton of sexually abusing them. Okay? This is what he's doing to prepare for this debate. He's bringing these women in to put them in the front row to try to make an example out of what Bill did, But here he is, the guy who says, hey, I'm a celebrity, I can grab pussies. Look, we know there's a lot of pervy guys out there. And I know that a lot of folks would say that that's the norm. Look, I am a respectful person when it comes to women. I would never talk down on a woman or use that kind of language. And I understand that there is what he called locker room talk. And hey, that's fine. Whatever. You call it what you like. But the fact is, I would never say something like that. And many men out there have a respect for women as equals. And we see that, there are many sexist attitudes out there. And I'm not going to get into the misogyny and all of this feminism crap because the feminists have taken it even too far in the modern day. So there's this hot topic debate about whether or not men and women are equals, or it's stupidity. It's stupidity. Of course men and women are equals. We're all humans. But when it comes to a candidate, a potential leader who says that he thinks it's okay because you're famous and people like you that you can grab a woman's genitals. It's just disgusting to me. I mean, it's appalling all in itself. I mean, so while I'm being fair with both of the candidates, I'm also giving even Trump a little bit of clout, a little bit of, I should say, credibility to say, hey, please present what you're actually going to do with these things. But he's been backtracking on everything, He was cornered last night on several issues, and he just wouldn't even give a straight answer on any of them. And except for the one where he definitely said that he wants to mine more coal. He wants more coal because he believes that that's the problem, is the creating of jobs in the coal industry. And he talked about how they're suffering. But meanwhile, they were asking, what about green energy? Can't we create jobs in those fields and be an innovator and a leader as a leading nation in these things? It's too late for us. All the other nations are beginning to surpass us in green energy because we're so stuck on this old bullshit coal story. And I realize that coal is something that we've used for a long time, and oil is a great resource. But it can't go on like this forever. We cannot continue to burn it and destroy not just our environment. You can get past the global warming aspect of it and just look at the aspect of the actual damage it does to the environment, to the sea life, to the people, the smog, breathing it. We know that this is dangerous and harmful. So it's not a matter of abandoning coal altogether and losing everyone's jobs. He's using that as a way to try to get that middle America vote, where the people say, hey, yeah, we need jobs. But I gotta say, any candidate who talks about creating jobs, I just blow them off completely when they say that. I mean, not everything else they say, but that aspect. You start talking about creating jobs, what do you mean? Now, when you create jobs, if you're creating private jobs, that means that the private sector has to have enough money to pay the employees for these jobs, and the demand has to be in. And this means sometimes workers have to work for less, because if the jobs that you want are also in China, and they're mining the same amount of this mineral and selling it for cheaper, then we're going to be pushed out of business, which is what's happened to America. We don't have any real GDP. We don't have any products that we're actually preventing. We are a consumerist nation now. And so I guess having a fat, rich billionaire as president might just be the ultimate, image of what America seems to stand for these days. And it's sad because I see a potential, for a good future. I see a potential for people to actually give a shit about one another. And I feel like we, the people, are maturing faster by far than our, what you might call leadership in some areas. What our representatives, by definition, are childish, selfish pieces of shit. A lot of them are. And they're the ones who actually get into office. I see guys like Bernie Sanders as great men, great people out there. Jill Stein, these are people that really want to see change. And everyone just calls them dumb liberal hippies, dreamers. And it's what do you say about it? What do you say to people who want an angry person or a hostile person or a liar as their president? The two-party system. I know I've talked a lot of shit about Trump, and I will probably continue to do so, because I don't like the man. I don't like what he stands for. His values do not resonate with me. But most of all, I don't feel like he can actually implement or will implement any of the things he says he's going to do. And I know that Clinton, to a lot of people call her Hillary, and I have good friends who are just all anti-Hillary too. And I have to say, I understand where you're coming from. But when you look at the actual claims made against her, they're very thin and weak. Yes, the emails, we know all about the emails. Mistakes have been made. But when you really look at the big picture and you see that, yes, she's the same old government that we're used to, but at the same time, at least that can go on for 4 more years, and then we can get her ass out of there and get somebody else in that we want. It'll give us time to organize in our thoughts and maybe talk about this and say, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? And more people are learning about the electorate college, and how the system works with, various votes and delegates and superdelegates within their areas. And the more we learn about the process, the more we can say, hey, we maybe can make an impact in this if we try. Because I don't see either one of them representing the values that I stand for. But maybe that's just me alone as my dumb hippie dreaming corner of reality, where I believe that people can actually come together on issues. And although we disagree, we don't have to call each other names and insult one another and be rude and say, you're stupid, you're dumb, you shouldn't have this opinion because I have a different opinion. It's about coming together and saying, why do we feel the way we feel? And are we working towards the same end? And what is that end? And I feel like Clinton is definitely a horrible choice for president, but when put in light in comparison with Trump, his policies seem very ass backwards to me. And I feel like marginalizing Muslims in this country, that he was asked about that last night, and his only quote was that Muslims need to start reporting each other and watching each other. I was like, I can't even believe that the guy is saying this. He's not saying that we all need to realize that it's not Muslims that are the problem, but radical Islamists or jihadists, but that most Muslims in America who live here do so peacefully. But no, he went on to say you need to watch each other. I mean, every single comment, I was carefully analyzing everything both of them said, and he didn't even make any attempt to seem normal. The whole time he was there, he was awkward. He had that weird sniffle thing that he did last time. You could tell he was nervous. And even though he's trying to cover it up, you can see his little baby attitude when he puckers and gets upset about things. They both do it. But my point is that the same old acts is what Clinton is. The same old shit that we've always seen in all the elections. I mean, Trump is something different. But that difference is not a good one. He's not respectful. He doesn't have good values, and he's not actually showing us anything he's going to do. So anybody who is a Trump supporter, I would ask, if you watched the debate last night, what did you think? I mean, is it just me? I mean, I understand that people have to defend themselves, but spending the entire time, an entire debate, one of the most crucial aspects of learning about the candidate, pointing the finger at Hillary's, not just Hillary, but Hillary's husband, and a variety of irrelevant topics, it makes me wonder, what's he going to be like if he actually gets into office? You know? How is he going to respond to the issues that we actually have? And why should he care? And just to remind you that your tax dollars, when you go out and work, some of your tax money will be going to pay a billionaire for the rest of his life, because presidents get paid for the rest of their life, as well as many people in Congress, senators. I would like to make a separate video about that, but these people get paid for life. And so for the rest of Donald's life, he'll be getting paid by us. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll get into office. Maybe he will win. And maybe he will do better than other presidents. I can't say that for sure. If his policies actually work, if he actually is respected and revered and he changes his tone, maybe that would be a good thing for this country. But I don't want a guy in office for president that says that just because people like him and he's a celebrity, he can grab pussies. That one comment right there, it just showed me the most shallow aspect of a guy like that. The same guy who has mail order brides, you know. I mean, I heard that he told, I don't know if this is true, I didn't even want to mention it, but there was a rumor that they had a prenuptial agreement between Trump and his wife that if she gained more than 10 pounds that she wouldn't get any money. And I thought, okay, that sounds like one of those bullshit things people would spread around. But then I thought, maybe it's not. I mean, Trump constantly talks about these things, you know, the weight of women. I mean, you just can't talk about women that way. It's just complete disgusting. It's disgusting. It shows a man who's not a man. It shows a man who's a boy. Real men have learned to respect women on their level. And I'm not going to diss on the mail order bride thing, but I do know a lot of guys can't get a woman, that there are no women are way out of their league as far as because they're such assholes. You know, no amount of money can buy you a relationship with somebody if they don't like you. But it's a lot easier to import a foreign bride, and that to me shows that, you know, he's treating women like commodities. And that's the attitude he's conveying. And I know I'm kind of driving this one into the ground about the way he's talking about women, but it's an important issue. It's a huge issue because half the nation, half the world are women. And if there's a guy in there that doesn't respect women, I don't understand how that can ever work. So, anyway, enough rambling. If you haven't seen the debate and you want to comment and maybe tell me I'm wrong and that Trump's a great man, I would urge you to watch that debate last night because it's both of them. I mean, we have to watch all of these things. You know, I tried to watch it with an open mind and both of them just acted like children. I'm not defending Clinton either. She made the biggest mistake. All I could think the whole time was Bernie should be up there. Only Bernie. Fuck both the rest of them. Anyway, this liberal hippie, if you want to call me that, I'm out. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great one.